Hello everyone, my name is Jayathma Wickramanayake. I am the UN Secretary General's Envoy on Youth. I am an advisor and a representative of the United Nations Secretary General when it comes to youth issues. So I try to bring youth perspectives, issues, ideas, but also youth rights into the work of the United Nations on sustainable development, peace and security, human rights, and humanitarian action. So my role really, if I simplify, is to bring the United Nations closer to young people and bring young people closer to the United Nations.
That's amazing work. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you.
So to follow up a little bit, how do you see the youth playing a role in the climate change movement right now?
I think we are the ones who should play the role. I think we as young people are the prime community that should take this responsibility really in two ways. One is that we are the largest generation of young people in the history of this planet.
Wow.
So if we are serious about reversing climate change, if we are serious about ending poverty, ending hunger, it's our generation who has to do it because we don't have enough time otherwise. So we as a generation needs to, I think, practice sustainability, climate action in our day-to-day lives, in the way we eat, the things we used to do our day-to-day things, like how we go to work, how we go to school, what we wear. Um, just switching off a light when you leave a room, very small concrete actions like that in our day-to-day lives. But on the second side, our governments, all 190 three governments in the United Nations have promised to do certain things at the international level,
Right.
starting from the Sustainable Development Goals that were adopted in 2015 to the Paris Agreement. So whichever the country you are living in, your government has actually agreed to live up to certain goals and targets by a certain timeline. So we as young people should also, I think, create movements to hold our policymakers accountable,
Right.
to really be the watchdog and ask, okay, we are lagging behind, you need to step
Right.
up, and to really hold that intergenerational responsibility to account.
Right, that's a great answer. Thank you so much for that. So, what do or why do you think that climate education and awareness is important in this time?
Yes, so I was actually asked the same question day before yesterday at the Talanoa dialogue, and what I said was, I'm a millennial. I was born in 1990, and I went to school in the 2000s, so basically in the 21st century. I don't remember a single time that I learned about climate change in my school or in university. But at the same time, in my country, I come from Sri Lanka, like every day on national news, I would see like farmers killing themselves because of the drought and not having a way to have enough crops to even feed themselves.
Wow.
I would see some of our most precious birds and animals moving into the IUCN Red List. I would see some of the beautiful coral reefs around my island nation being destroyed. But I didn't really know that all this was happening because of climate change. It was much later when I started reading and studying about climate science that I understood the interlinkages between those issues. But I think it's very unfair because us as a generation are responsible to reverse the effects of climate change. The next 40, 50 years, we are going to be carbonizing the atmosphere that was carbonized by the former generations. We are going to be the ones who are going to live sustainably and reverse those impacts of climate change, both in terms of mitigation and adaptation. But we are not given the enough information. We are not given necessary information. It's as if someone's trying to blindfold us and telling us to drive a car. We are supposed to do something, but we are not given enough information. So
Right.
that is not fair. That is why in all my interventions this week, I was stressing on climate education. We need to include climate science and climate education in our formal education curriculums, but also in non-formal and informal education that we get through student clubs, the scouts, the girl guides. Every single entity should be mobilized for this course.
Great. Thank you so much. Um, so, last question. What do you say to the youth who might think that their vote doesn't matter?
don't think like that. Every single vote matters. It matters in a way that, as I said, most of our national governments have made commitments, because climate change and climate action is not any single person's responsibility or any single country's responsibility. It's a global responsibility that should be owned by every government equally. So who you elect will represent your country in some of these very critical intergovernmental negotiations, and it's important that they come with the right spirit of collaboration, the spirit of justice, to be able to, first of all, protect you as citizens from climate change implications, and second of all, help those who need it the most, who might not be necessarily coming from your country.
Right.
So your word does matter, and I really, really encourage everyone to go out and vote, but also you can run for office. I encourage all young people who are interested and passionate about climate issues, about our planet, the health of our planet, to run for political office, because that's the leadership we want. We want youth leadership, we want leadership for climate action, and there's no one better than you to do it.
Right. Thank you so much for an inspiring perspective. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.